Greetings, guys and girls, and a very warm welcome, watchers. The sun is hiding and the rain is pouring and the magpie is casting. Coming to you guys right now with a slightly faster than usual introduction and a 1 versus 1 battle fresh from the ladder. Featuring spawning in the south, it is going to be that notorious, ever enjoyable to watch, fantastically skilled and talented Vermac player, AndresTC. And spawning in the north, it is going to be a similarly skilled and talented player, this time featuring as the Russians. It's going to be HOI's Vulpine. And what a treat we have here before us. AndresTC definitely in my top 3 players of all time to cast, I think. Like, he just makes the stuff happen, which in your head you're always like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if the Vermac player did this? And, like, Vermac players generally don't. Or, indeed, you know what, the Vermac part, you can take that out of those sentences and it all still works. Sometimes you're like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if players did this? And then, like, nobody does because generally it doesn't work, or it's a bad idea, or it's got a good in theory, bad in practice, or maybe it's even bad in theory, but it's just cool and you want to see it. Well, AndresTC is the man for making stuff like that happen. He almost always goes for Mechanized Assault Doctrine, so I am very surprised, I must say, to see him go for an early pick here, and it's going to be the Elite Troops Doctrine. Just press pause now on the YouTube channel if you want to refresh your memory of this commander. A very good all-rounder. The addition of Stormtroopers instead of the purchasing veterancy thing is actually a pretty nice change for the commander, and I do rate Stormtroopers being present in this lineup. They do have their place. No, they're not the most powerful of elite troop call-ins, but they are pretty good, and they can get work done. For HOI Vulpine, he has also gone ahead and picked a commander very early, and it is going to be the notorious Partisan Doctrine. So, yep, he's going to be spawning geezers out of buildings and doing the good old Shrek grenade Shrek with his tank hunter partisans, and generally trying to sow as much chaos and confusion as possible into the lines here of AndresTC. Now, the initial scuffles, as you can see and hear, are getting underway in front of us right now. MG42 in a nice building is hooning damage on into these engineers, who are really just placeholders for this Maxim. Andre probably aware of this, and as soon as that Maxim gets in here, that's going to turn the tide of this particular battle, and this MG42 is probably going to have to give way. Initial arc, not quite right here, so the Maxim's going to have to return. That is actually going to enable some Grenadiers to get on up reasonably close into this building, and they're going to start heaping a bit more damage in. So we're going to see if AndresTC here is going to be able to get this MG out. It's funny, actually, I seem to recall, last game I cast of AndresTC, he did actually lose an MG in, like, the opening 2 minutes, in a situation similar to this, with an exchange between a Maxim and an MG42 in buildings. So, but this time it's going much better. His MG42 is actually holding out pretty well here. The additional DPS provided by these Grenadiers being pretty useful. Not quite sure exactly why they're suppressed. Maybe the Maxim just fired at them for an instant to suppress them. Whoa, Maxim gets destroyed! Oh! Oh, that's horrible! That is just savage news. Wow, okay, well, this time it's Vulpine, the Soviet player, who's going to be losing an MG in the opening stages of this game, and that is a bitter pill to swallow indeed. In fact, actually, Vulpine, you know, he had a third Maxim on the queue even before he lost that one in the building, so Vulpine going a little bit old school here. Actually, no, he's going to cancel the Maxims now, go for some Partisans instead. So Partisan's going to spawn behind these guys, and that is a problem here. Remember, the DPS on Partisan's very high, but they also receive a lot of damage very quickly. Whoa, stun grenades being used here. And remember, stun grenades actually do pretty damn good damage against guys in buildings. In fact, just reasonable damage, like, generally. But anyway, going to be storming forward here. Partisan's going to chase these guys away. A couple of pioneers here going to try and do their thing. This Maxim here looks like it's going to get away. And I've got to say, AndresTC spicing it up here, doing very well in the face of 2 Maxims. And indeed, it seems forcing his opponent to veer away from what was probably going to be a triple Maxim opening here. Yeah, a little bit old school there with the triple Maxim, but, you know, ever effective. The Maxim has not really become any worse, and, you know, still a very scary unit to face. Anyway, wow, so whilst all this has been going on, BT Dubs, there has been a squad of Pioneers over here in the west capturing ground for AndresTC, which will stand him in good stead. He is gaining additional resources from that flank right now. So that is keeping him more or less at parity in the resources stakes, plural. Yep. All ticking over nicely for both of these players. As I take a sip on my drink. A little bit of action here in the backfield. MG42 is going to suppress some Pioneers. These, sorry, not some Pioneers, some Partisans. The Pioneers going to do some damage. Looks like Grenadiers still chopping and changing, mixing it up near the front line. Going up to 3 squads of Grenadiers is AndresTC. Ever confident is he with the bread and butter infantry squad of the Vermac forces. He's just, you know, he's been using these units since the dawn of time. He can get a considerably more value for money out of Grenadiers than most players, so that's not bad. Oh, potential for a squad wipe here. I imagine the focus fire from Andre will be sharp, but it looks like those Partisans going to get very lucky there, and they will escape. He's going to try for just 1 or 2 more shots here. No, he's not. he's going to get into this building and start threatening this Maxim. Where's that MG42? Oh, it's still in this position, still hooning away. Looks like Vulpine Elf forced to give up this dream house for now. Unable to keep the dream house alive, and he's going to have to fall back here. That's the sound of the Maxim. And I don't know what happened to those pioneers in the west. Did they... oh, well, something happened to them. So I imagine they will... Whoa, still no sign of battle phase 1? Andre, what are you doing? I'm a little mystified by the lack of battle phase 1, but I have faith in Andre. He's just that good. Anyway, it looks like Vulpine L here mounting a ferocious defense. Maxims, Pioneers coming out the works here. MG42 is going to be forced to run. These Grenadiers aren't going to trade much longer. I feel like they should definitely get out of here sooner rather than later. Maybe going to try for some focus fire into this retreating Grenadier, but I think he's got enough health that a squad wipe is impossible. And there comes the fallback on the Grenadiers. Oh no, the Partisans are here for the chase. Those Grenadiers are weak enough that there is danger of a wipe here, and they're getting all kind of jiggled up on the Partisans. This is looking utterly devastating right now for Andre. Where's the other Grenadier gone? It says this is a two-man squad, but I actually... Oh, there's the other one. Okay, sure. So yeah, Molotov going to come down into the building here, and that's going to displace these Grens. MG42, whereabouts are you right now? I cannot hear it firing. Oh, of course, yeah, it's still in a fallen back state. Partisans now in the west going to be undoing Andre's capturing work. Going straight for the fuel here is Vulpine L, much more concerned with denying resources to his opponent. And now we've got Stormtroopers popping on out of the works here. Whoa, what was that? Oh, that was a risky stun grenade. Going to stun his own guys there, but did get some good damage onto these engineers. How much are stun grenades, actually? Are they like 20 munitions or something? Yeah. So they are, you know, quite usable. You can throw them when you feel like it, pretty much. And, you know, AndresTC, you can see is... Oh, is that another one he's just lobbed? Where am I looking? I just saw 20 munitions come off. Oh, no, it was a cancel. He cancelled that one. Fair enough. So, yay. Well, we get to see Stormtroopers. Medical bunker coming up now. Going to have some medics running around in the base. Let's just check the tech here for the Soviet player. Quick check tech. Nothing there. So nothing interesting happening yet. Maxim's going to come across here. That will suppress those Grenadiers and get rid of them. And it looks to me like Vulpine L is actually establishing a pretty nice position. The MG42 is the saving grace for Andre here in the east. But he's establishing himself much better map control now. You can see more and more of the map turning red. Vulpine L here pushing nicely, using the power of the Maxim with the power of the Soviets here. Flamers, SMGs, and two Maxims is quite the savage lineup here. Pioneers actually getting up behind this Maxim is really annoying, and these Grenadiers were not actually forced to retreat, so they will probably complete a capture here. Slightly annoying for the Soviet player. Those bastards are trying to flank us! So some engineers with a Flammenwerfer are going to get up into this building. That's annoying because the Grenadiers are here pushing. Where is that MG42 now? Oh, it's over here. Okay. Oh, dearie me. So the Dream House definitely being used against the south-spawning player here. Well, AndresTC kind of having a hard time now getting out of his base. This MG42 will help him up to 2 stars now. And remember, at 2 stars, that is when the MG42 starts becoming a little more dangerous. I think it's 3 stars is when it gets the real damage buff. Yeah, burst control and accuracy. But 2 stars, it is more dangerous. Increased suppression basically means that MG42 will pretty much hard shut down infantry caught in its arc, so that's much better. And I believe it's at 2-star vet. The traverse speed on the MG gets a little better, because remember, the MG42 does actually traverse pretty slowly, it always feels like. Anyway, Stormtroopers out and about doing their thing, getting work done. Interesting, though. Interesting to note that Andre putting all his munitions into these stun grenades and whatnot, and has no G43s on any of his units. Which, oh, he just put, as I said that, he put some G43s on and then thought better of it and cancelled them, so... Anyway, yeah, I would like to see G43s appearing on these units. It's going to help in the DPS war. Especially, it will enable his Grenadiers to absolutely bully these Partisan squads well before the Partisans can get into range and start being useful. A little bit of a grenade coming down here. Nothing really to write home about. 8 Grenadiers going to beat 3 Partisans, or 4 as it was before one of them got picked down. So, yep. Excuse me, just clearing my throat. So yes, this game kicking off very nicely. This has been coming up for 10 minutes now of entertaining cerebral skirmishing between these two players. Rifle grenade coming through onto a clustered Maxim squad. Boom! Gets 3 of them. Very nicely done there. But yeah, this has been the 10 minutes, the opening 10 minutes that I would have hoped for between these two. A very even scoreline and a very even unit compositions and things like that. I think really the only big swing and the only reason the Soviet player feels like he's a little behind, which he still kind of does feel like he's a little behind, is because he did lose that Maxim, if you remember, very early on. Looks like he's going to grab himself a third one even now, though, so there we go. Still no sign. Okay, yeah, Battle Phase 1 has been completed now, so that's good, that's good. That's going to unlock, you know, Panzerfausts and LMG-42s, I guess, if he wants them, and also enable him to construct the Leichter Mechanized Company and look to get some Tier 2 units on the field. Now, it looks like these partisans are just... Oh, dearie me, are they really going to stay and try and fight this? Oh, actually, they're doing quite well. I always forget just how dangerous partisans are at point-blank range. I mean, they really are dangerous. You really, really have to respect them. But the thing is, they're so kind of paper-thin. You know, partisans have very little HP and very little protection. So they're so paper-thin, even when they're right up close against your units. Sometimes you don't want to press fullback, because you know if you stay for just like another couple of seconds, you'll force them back. But I mean, it's a risky game when you stay and trade against partisans at that range. So AndresTC playing it a little cautious there, which is good. Now, let's see. Let's crack the tack here. We've got a moment of quiet. We can investigate the scenario from a much more zoomed out, almost satellite view. It looks like good control of the buildings in the east side of the map is going to be enabling Vulpine here to maintain control over this area of the map. Going to grab the VP as well, which I didn't realize he didn't have command over, so that's slightly annoying. Vulpine as well having the VP over in the west of the map, and both players committing... Well, it looks like actually Andre's committing a much bigger amount of units here into the west of the map. Going to be the first player to make a real commitment to holding that area of the map, and that will stand him in good stead. He would love to have that fuel point under his control. He has not had a fuel point. Well, he has had a fuel point this game for quite a lot of it actually, but he hasn't had that fuel point for a while. So yeah, he'll be wanting to do that. Up to 2 squads of stormtroopers now, one with Shreks. I'm an STG stormtrooper, man. I mean, the Shreks are fine and sometimes necessary, but I just love pressing tactical advance. Often to my detriment, it must be said, but usually to my advantage. Because I just love the way they just all walk slowly and unload their STGs for brutal damage, you know. That's the kind of thing which, to be fair, would shut down partisans. If you gave STGs to your stormtroopers and tactical advance them, that would shut them down. But anyway. These partisans really don't want to be taking this fight, and that's why they're going to fall back. Vulpine on top of that. Meanwhile, over here in the east, looks like we've got an MG off. Maxims, of course, won't to win that one, and that's going to be the case this time as well. Looks like Andre as well, pushing forwards here, going to be grabbing the cutoff here, so that's pretty awesome. Going to be trying to constrain the fuel advantage, which Vulpine has been able to leverage for a little bit of this game. Let's just quickly check the tech here for Vulps. So it looks like he has gone for the Tank V Battalion Command. That's why his fuel at the moment, it looks a little lower than that of AndresTC, who's actually floating near on 200 fuel. S-Minefield in a decent position here, and I tell you what, that is the drawback of putting flamers on both your engineers. There are no mine detectors here, so these guys are just going to be going down anytime there's a minefield nearby. Meanwhile, Grenadiers and some Pioneers looking to get some work done. These Pioneers with a flamer, if they could just make it into this building, they're going to be cruelly pinned in negative cover there, so off they go. They have to go back to base. If only they could have made it into this building, that would have been some sweet building clearing action. This Maxim's actually not turning to face these Grenadiers, who were able to stay in that building longer than I thought and maintain high amounts of HP here as well. So they're just going to soft garrison this building, if you like. They don't want to be in the building because they'll be soaking up damage, but they're just going to sit like just outside here. Oh, partisans in negative cover. This does present an opportunity. Let's see if these Grenadiers, yeah, they get one coming across the open. See if they can pick off another. That would be useful, but tons of Flammenwerfers appearing here, and Andre's going to have to be very quick if he's going to avoid a squad wipe here, and I think he was there in the nick of time. So his Grenadiers are going to be able to exfiltrate safely here. Meanwhile, in the west, well, looks like things going swimmingly for AndresTC, who has almost complete control of all of the relevant points. That was a rapid fallback from this squad. I guess he just wanted no part of being pursued by partisans, and that is fair. With that, Vulpine going to start coming on back into this area of the map and crucially reclaiming his cutoff here, so he can start getting some benefit from the fuel point he's going to capture here. Oh, Maxim getting set up in this building. Oh, that's nasty. You always want to avoid that. You know what? I was just going to say about mortar teams. Looks like the Soviet player is going to go for the old PM41, but I was going to say Andre could use, I think, a tube in his roster right now because he's up against like 3 Maxims. I guess a tube is super risky when you know your opponent is playing partisans. So I guess that's why he's not doing it. But I mean, like, I feel like at this point, with the Maxims creeping up this far and the Sim City, the garrisoning of all these buildings being so hard to deal with, I kind of think, you know, a couple of mortar tubes would be really, really good here for AndresTC. At least one would be nice anyway. And remember, of course, the Ostia GR34, unlike the live gun, you can actually put smoke down, which makes dealing with those MGs just a little bit easier again. Anyway, here comes the T-70, which has obviously been on the queue for a while, but I didn't mention it. Going to start suppressing this infantry. Well, not in-game mechanics suppressing this infantry, but suppressing their advances in this area. And, oh my god, that thing is a mini Ostwind, isn't it? It just does so much damage. Those Grenadiers going to have to run away, and the T-70 is going to reign supreme here on the western flank. Andre beginning to become undone a little bit here, as he's unable to access easily the eastern half of the map, which is of course the most important due to the garrison maxims and Soviet forces everywhere, now supported by a mortar and the possibility of a rapidly transitioning T-70 to come across and police this area of the map. And also having a hard time in the west because that T-70, very fast, very mobile, and very capable of dealing with infantry when it's in a wide open area like this. So that's a problem right now. AndresTC in need of a pack gun to increase his fun. No, he's going to go for Panzer IV. Oh my god, I didn't even realize he had support armor core. But he does, so Panzer IV is going to be the answer here. And I like that a lot, actually. The Panzer IV is going to help him out so much here. And his opponent hasn't mixed in any other units. Oh my god, this Maxim here still just kind of being a dick here. Just causing massive, massive retreats and denying any access into that area of the map. I knew as soon as I saw that Maxim go into that building, I was just like, ooh, really? That is kind of bad news. If you're the Axis player here in AndresTC, absolutely feeling the effects of that Maxim. And look, the noose is tightening. Like, whoa, T-70 coming in here as well. Look at this. The noose really is tightening now. All of the Axis units are in the base. No map present. This is it. This is everything on this screen right now for Andre. So he's going to have to break out of this. And there's Maxims pinning him in. You know, there's this T-70 being annoying. Yeah, he has a Panzer IV, and that, to be honest, should be enough to break this this deadlock. But there are Zisguns coming, so he doesn't have long here. Or a Zisgun and an Su-76. Brutal choices by HOI Vulpine now. It's really good. And bear in mind, it's not going to be long. You know, it's going to be ready for the fight with the Panzer IV, I would say. He's going to have marked vehicle. And remember that is an ability which Axis players have learned to respect over the years. So Panzer IV is just going to rock on up into town here. Going to start immediately putting some damage down. Pintle Mount MG42 is on the way. Here comes the Shrek grenade. Shrek though. Oh, he gets the Shrek in. Now here comes the grenade. Biff. Now it's a stricken one. Where's that pack gun? Sorry, the Zisgun. It's on its way. Actually going off into the west of the map. I thought for sure he'd tasked that one with coming over here. Oh god, he's just going to stay and trade with these guys. I don't know about this. I think you have to get this Panzer IV out of here if you're AndresTC. Because here's the problem. You know, your opponent can just keep funneling manpower. They're only, what, 210? 270, sorry, for the Tank Hunter Partisans, or the Pank Hunter Tartisans. And, you know, that's 2 Shreks now hooning on this Panzer IV. That should be a dead Panzer IV. It really should. Here comes the final round now. Oh, sorry, final round probably going to come from this building. Yeah, there we go. And that Panzer IV has now been destroyed. And now AndresTC in a very difficult position. He has managed to push out here in the west, but losing that Panzer IV, obviously, dramatically suboptimal. And now the Su-76 is in town for some indie barrages. Oh, no. Oh, this is hard times. Remember, these barrages are free, so if you're the Soviet player, anything you hit with this is just value. And those shells are like the same kind of shells that the Zisgun fires on its barrage, or very similar if they're not identical. So, you know, yep, they can and will gib dudes and squads if you get the good hits. So there we go. MG42 going to get wiped out by the T-70, and I hate to say it, but I think one of my favourite players of all time here, AndresTC, is getting picked apart a little bit here. I mean, you know, he ain't out yet. He's got some time to work with here. 381 now under 448 as the score differential beginning to open up. But, okay, no, he's just going to call it. Wow, damn! HOI Vulpine L putting together a brutal display of partisanery there, using a sort of Ivan-esque kind of, I mean, it wasn't as brutal, it wasn't as acidically kind of abusive as von Ivan's tactics, which, I mean, make no mistake, I'm a big fan and admirer of. I'm not criticizing him when I say those things. He plays his way, and his way is what I just said, brutal and acidically abusive. But an Ivan-esque style here, opening up sort of Maxim heavy and then moving into partisans. And, you know, that was the plan in advance, and we know this because, of course, we saw him pick the partisan doctrine, like, well before, you know, the Maxims were out, well before he even had 1 CP to start calling in the partisans. So, Taking that doctrine, I guess, for the radio intercepts at that early juncture and just knowing what he wanted to do. AndresTC here, trying a different style, going for the elite troops doctrine. Hard to see that it was really good or worth it over the mechanized assault doctrine. I mean, let's compare and contrast here. You know, he had stormtroopers, which were kind of meh, let's be honest. I mean, they weren't that... I just never saw them doing anything that great this game. He had the stun grenades, which I did see doing great things this game, but that also meant that AndresTC had very low amounts of munitions, and that meant that, I mean, none of these units really have... Okay, so I suppose he's got a Shrek and some G43s, but I mean, there wasn't that prevalence of LMG42s and G43s that you might hope to see as a Vermac player in this game. Also, I think, you know how when I cracked the tack and I said the noose was tightening around here, that's the kind of scenario when your opponent is pressuring you with a multitude of infantry squads and a T-70. That's the kind of scenario when a Stug Light, the Stug 3E, can actually really shine. I mean, that thing puts on serious pressure against units in buildings. This Maxim here, which is now up to 3 stars, I don't think this Maxim was ever displaced since it got into this building. It was just constantly hooning on guys, constantly restricting access to the east of the map. And that's the kind of thing which a Stug 3E would have just been like, nope, you can't do that. I'm going to push this MG away, you know. Now, Tank Hunter Partisans may or may not have something to say about that, and in the heat of the game, things don't always go that simply, but I'm just saying that seemed like the kind of circumstance, I think, where a Stug 3E would have been pretty spicy. So, yeah, wow. AndresTC getting taken out handily here. Vulpine L proving that the old Maxims into Partisans still spicy. Absolutely still spicy. And to be fair, I also really liked the way he transitioned into a Zis gun and an Su-76 as well. That was just so appropriate. And that Panzer IV, I mean, that was... I think that was probably a mistake from Andre. I mean, like, what's the plan with that Panzer IV coming that far out, you know? Like, then it's surrounded by buildings and Tank Hunter Partisans. Like, we know what they do. They come out of a building, they hit you with the Shrek, then they hit you with the grenade, which is then going to break your engine because you've got enough damage from that first Shrek hit. And then once you've been grenaded, you're basically, you know, you're signed up for that second Shrek hit at that point, and there's nothing you can really do about that. AndresTC making a good attempt at killing the first Tank Hunter Partisan squad, but here's the thing about Tank Hunter Partisans, everybody. They're not that expensive. So your opponent, if he has the manpower, can just funnel a bit more into another squad, and then you're being hit by 2 Shreks, or, you know, just things go from bad to worse. And as soon as that Panzer IV is out of position with its engine broken against Partisan doctrine, you have to really think it ought to die. So I'm not quite sure why Andre decided to move the tank out into this position. I don't know what the advantage of having it here was over having it here. Maybe he just wanted some recon to see what was going on out here. But for whatever reason, the Panzer IV was here, and because of that, I think it was taken out. And I think if Andre played this game again, he might not do that, because that Panzer IV, you know, that was his ticket to breaking out of this deadlock, and it could have been done. But, I mean, it was a tall order, but it could have been done. So, anyway, wow, that's going to conclude this battle. Another brief one. It's been a slew of rapid battles recently. But anyway, yeah, thank you very much for watching, and this for now is Magpie842, signing out.